guess we're getting a little bit far ahead of ourselves, but Franklin Graham finds you refreshing. He doesn't find me refreshing. Richard Spencer, the white nationalist leader, says he could vote for you.
Joy, this is why.
I mean, you're on
here.
Tucker Carlson at least 10 times. Why don't you go on Chris Wallace's show?
This is why I'm here, because you and other people continue to spread these innuendos that have nothing to do with who I am.
Well, Hillary Clinton started it, and then you shot back at her, boy. You called her the queen of warmongers.
You doubled down, unfortunately, you doubled down on the baseless accusations that she made that strikes at the core of who I am. I'm a soldier. Because of the attacks on 9/11, I enlisted in the military to go after and defeat and destroy the evil that visited us on that day. I've served now for over 16 years, deployed twice to the Middle East during the height of the war, where every single day I saw firsthand the terribly high human cost.
Tulsi Gabbard stormed into The View with a fire that scorched the set, and what unfolded left the studio in stunned silence. From the very first words, the air was thick with tension, and Joy Behar had no idea she was walking straight into a storm she couldn't tame. It began with Joy flashing that trademark smug grin and tossing one of her usual barbed jabs. But this time, she pushed far past the line, hurling weak insults and shaky claims in a desperate attempt to corner Tulsi. What came next was nothing short of explosive. Tulsi, calm yet piercing, locked eyes with Joy and unleashed a thunderbolt, branding her a fool on live television. A moment so shocking, it drew audible gasps as Joy's face burned crimson.
I am a patriot. I love our country. I am a strong and intelligent woman of color. And I have dedicated almost my entire adult life to protecting the safety, security, and the freedom of all Americans in this country. It was the attacks on 9/11.
Tulsi wasn't giving Joy a single chance to recover. Her eyes stayed locked, her voice cutting through the air like a razor. "You think you can smear me and I'll just smile for the cameras?" she shot back, her words landing like punches. "I faced enemies overseas who were more honest than this." The audience broke into shocked murmurs as Joy tried to brush it off with a forced laugh. But the nervous glance she threw at the other host told the real story. The tension was suffocating, so heavy even the crew seemed frozen in place, while the co-hosts exchanged uneasy looks, unsure whether to intervene or stay quiet. Tulsi pressed forward, steady and deliberate, every line hitting harder than the last.
Let me just close this out, that Hillary Clinton, throughout her career, has led with a foreign policy of interventionism and being the world's police, going and toppling dictators in other countries that has caused such destruction and loss of life. I'm against that.
You've made a career out of tearing down people you don't agree with, she continued, pointing straight at Joy. But today, you picked the wrong person. Gasps and claps rippled through the audience, fueling Tulsi's fire as Joy tried to respond, only to be silenced immediately. "Number, you've had your turn. Now you're going to listen." The command in her voice left Joy speechless, her confidence visibly shaken. Tulsi's eyes narrowed as she delivered another sharp blow. "You call yourself a truth teller, but all you've done today is spread lies and personal attacks." Her calm fury gave every word undeniable weight, the kind that stays etched in people's minds. The studio air grew heavier, everyone aware they were witnessing a moment destined to explode across social media. Tulsi stood her ground with the poise of someone who had faced worse battles, and when Whoopi tried to flip the script by accusing her of being defensive, it backfired instantly.
So, before I ask you the first question, what's happening with the telescope and the stuff?
Oh gosh. The challenge is ongoing. The challenge is ongoing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
What is that?
So,
Just explain.
they decided, it was decided that they were going to go on sacred land.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
And put up a telescope and do all this stuff. And the Hawaiians said, no, you're not going to do that. So it's been a fight. Tulsi's been at the forefront. Yeah. And I try to bring it up, you know,
I remember.
when I can, because it's, I think sacred land is sacred land.
Yeah.
You can't, you know, you can't
anyway.
mess it. So I have to ask you this instead. So we were just talking about EU Ambassador Sondland changing his testimony yesterday, that he had to be refreshed about quid pro quo, and you've been skeptical more than a lot of the Democrats about the impeachment inquiry. Were you surprised by what he did yesterday?
Well, look, the facts are important. And we'll get to that. I want to start with something that I think is also important about facts.
If you are enjoying this takedown, hit that subscribe button. Tulsi shot back without missing a beat. No, I'm not defensive. I'm correcting you because you're wrong and you know it. The crowd erupted in scattered applause, a few even rising to their feet in support. Joy's cheeks flushed an even deeper red, though she forced a stiff smile as if nothing was happening, while the other hosts shifted uncomfortably, their eyes darting toward the cameras with visible unease. No one dared to interrupt the standoff. Tulsi leaned back slightly, her composure unshaken, but her voice stayed razor sharp. You invited me here to talk, yet all you've done is insult me. Is that what you call journalism? Her tone dripped with sarcasm, triggering laughter from parts of the audience.
It's offensive to me as a soldier, as an American, as a member of Congress, as a veteran, and frankly, as a woman, to be so demeaned in such a way.
But you called her the personification of rock.
So demeaned
She's a woman
in such
too.
a way. Well, I'm pointing to the fact that she has continued this legacy of being the world's police around the world, that has waged wars costing the lives of thousands of my brothers and sisters in uniform.
Growing desperate, Joy fumbled with her notes, pretending to search for a way out, but Tulsi refused to let the moment slip away. This isn't about me disagreeing with you, she pressed on firmly. It's about you spreading misinformation to millions of viewers, intentionally. The weight of the accusation dropped like a hammer, silence hanging thick as the studio absorbed every word. Joy stammered weakly, her voice trembling. Well, that's just my opinion. Tulsi cut in instantly, her tone like steel. No, Joy, that's not opinion, that's a lie. And there's a difference. The audience gasped, followed by a wave of applause that shook the room, and for the first time, Joy looked cornered, her trademark confidence slipping into unease. In that moment, Tulsi had seized complete control, dismantling Joy's defense in front of a live audience that would never forget what they had just witnessed.
That's why I ran for Congress.
We actually have the clip of Hillary Clinton, just to put this in context of what we're talking about. Let's take a look at that.
I'm not making any predictions, but I think they've got their eye on somebody who's currently in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be the third-party candidate. She's the favorite of the Russians. They have a bunch of, sites and bots and other ways of supporting her so far. And that's assuming Jill Stein will give it up, which she might not, because she's also a Russian asset.
So
Really? I mean, this is outrageous. This is outrageous and offensive on so many levels. I've served as a member of Congress now for almost 7 years, receiving high-level national security and intelligence briefings, serving on the Foreign Affairs Committee, the Armed Services Committee, the Homeland Security Committee, working to ensure the safety and security of the people of this country. This is why I'm running for president, to continue that commitment of service.
So are you surprised, though, that when people see bots and things and all the things that we've sort of been seeing heading your way, that people have these questions? Because she's not the only one. Hillary, I don't think, is the only one. So what she's saying is she feels they are grooming you. You're saying nobody's grooming me. I'm doing what I'm doing because I'm a soldier and a patriot.
It's offensive to me as a soldier, as an American, as a member of Congress, as a veteran, and frankly, as a woman, to be so demeaned in
But you
such
called
a way.
her the personification of rock.
So demeaned
She's a woman
in such
too.
a way. Well, I'm pointing to the fact that she has continued this legacy of being the world's police around the world, that has waged wars costing the lives of thousands of my brothers and sisters in uniform. I'm speaking out against that and
What's
to
your evidence
change
to that?
to change.
Well,
Are you serious?
Let's hear it.
Are you serious?
Let's hear it.
I served in the war
Not
in
you,
Iraq.
her. You're saying that she's-
exactly.
she's a
I
warmonger.
served
How do
in
you
the
come
war
up with
in
that?
Iraq
Yeah.
that she championed. She championed a regime change war
Did you not
in
believe
Libya.
in that war?
I believe the lies that were told to us.
Well, so did she.
Look, it is indisputable. It is indisputable.
Joy's grip on her cue cards tightened, as if clutching them could somehow restore her control. She tried to steady herself with a glance toward the camera, but Tulsi never flinched. Her gaze stayed locked, unrelenting. You've built your platform on attacking people like me, Tulsi declared, her voice calm but carrying undeniable force. But here's the truth, Joy. You can't bully someone who's fought on real battlefields. The crowd erupted into cheers, the energy in the room shifting instantly in Tulsi's favor. Joy attempted a smirk, but it quickly faltered under Tulsi's piercing stare. I'm just asking questions, she muttered, but Tulsi snapped back without hesitation. No, you're making accusations, she corrected sharply. And you're doing it to attack my character because you can't win with facts. The studio buzzed with electricity, every word from Tulsi landing like a direct hit. You called me an idiot, she continued, leaning in just enough to rattle Joy further. And yet, here you sit, ignoring my record, my service, my experience, because it doesn't fit your narrative. Joy forced out a strained laugh, darting desperate glances at her co-hosts for support, but none of them moved. No one wanted to be next in Tulsi's sights. I've served my country for years, Tulsi pressed on, her tone steady and unshakable. I've been in war zones. I've seen lives torn apart, and I will not sit here and be belittled by someone who has never walked a single day in my shoes. The audience roared in response, some standing to applaud as Joy's expression collapsed into a mix of shock and frustration. She looked trapped, cornered in a fight she couldn't win. One co-host tried desperately to steer the show back on topic, but Tulsi cut in before the momentum could slip from her grasp.
To say anything other than the fact let me just close this out, that Hillary Clinton throughout her career has led with a foreign policy of interventionism and being the world's police, going and toppling dictators in other countries that has caused such destruction and loss of life. I'm against that. I'm running for president to change that. Rather than actually debate me on the issues, she and others are resorting to these smear tactic campaigns, seeking to undermine me, smear my character, and sending a message to anyone who dissents. Toe the line, or you too will be smeared.
We're not moving on until this is clear, Tulsi declared, her tone firm and unshakable. You don't get to spread lies and then hide behind a smile. Joy, visibly rattled, tried to push back with, well, Tulsi, maybe if you... But she was immediately cut off. No, Joy, stop. You've had your turn. Now you're going to listen. Tulsi's words landed like a command, freezing the room as the crowd erupted once again, while even the camera crew hesitated, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let the firestorm play out. Tulsi pressed forward, her voice steady and sharp. You accuse me without a shred of evidence, and then pretend you're just asking questions. That isn't journalism. That's manipulation. The audience gasped, but their applause made clear they agreed. Joy's shoulders slumped slightly, the fight slipping from her grip as Tulsi leaned in with precision. Here's the truth. You call me names, you attack my integrity, but the fact is, you're threatened by me. Threatened by someone who refuses to play by your rules. Joy stayed silent, and that silence spoke louder than anything she could have said. The tension was suffocating, gripping not only the studio, but also every viewer watching from home. Then Tulsi delivered the line that would dominate headlines for days. So here's my advice, Joy. If you don't want to be called out, stop embarrassing yourself on national television. The crowd exploded, some cheering wildly, others gasping at the sheer bluntness, while Joy's face shifted from shock to anger. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, her eyes darting to the producers in desperation for an escape that wasn't coming. Tulsi leaned back in her chair, calm and collected, her stare locked as Joy sat cornered with no comeback in sight.
I do want to ask you something else. Kamala Harris said recently that her race and gender are, quote, the elephant in the room, and that many still question if America is ready for a woman, and specifically a woman of color, to be president. And you're also a woman of color. Yeah. Is that, you feel, been a problem for you? Do you agree with her?
No, I think the American people are ready for a president that will put people ahead of politics, put people ahead of profits.
Then why is she saying that, you think?
You have to ask Kamala that. I can't speak to why she's saying that. But what I've seen in our travels across New Hampshire, we just came from New Hampshire yesterday, across the early states, we have some New Hampshire people here, is we are building a code to bring about the systemic change we need to see to take our government back from the rich and powerful who control it and make it so our government is truly of, by, and for the people.
You can spin this however you want, Tulsi declared, her voice steady and commanding. But the people watching know exactly what happened here today. The studio erupted in thunderous applause, the kind that shook the room and made it clear the audience had chosen their side. Tulsi hadn't just defended herself, she had turned the entire exchange upside down, leaving Joy visibly rattled and defeated. The producers finally cut to commercial, but the damage was already done. Social media exploded instantly, clips spreading like wildfire. This clash destined to live online forever. When the cameras returned, Joy tried to act unfazed, but her tone had shifted. Quieter, restrained, almost hesitant. Tulsi, by contrast, sat poised and confident, the undisputed victor of the showdown. It was television at its rawest, unfiltered, unscripted, impossible to ignore. Joy had expected to put Tulsi on the defensive, but instead, she had been dismantled on her own stage. The tension lingered like a storm cloud, felt by the audience, the co-hosts, and most of all by Joy herself, whose usual swagger was replaced by visible unease. Tulsi leaned back, faintly smiling, fully aware she had seized control of the entire set. Joy attempted to steer the conversation towards something lighter, but the audience wasn't buying it. They were still buzzing, whispering, reacting to Tulsi's unapologetic takedown. One co-host tried to break the ice with humor, but Tulsi's unblinking stare at Joy kept the atmosphere heavy. Finally, Joy turned with a forced softness, muttering, "I think we just had a misunderstanding." But Tulsi shut that down instantly. "No, Joy," she said firmly, her voice carrying above the crowd. "We had a very clear understanding. You came at me with false accusations, and I responded with the truth." The audience roared again, clapping and cheering, refusing to let Joy sweep it under the rug. Joy forced a tight, uneasy smile, clinging to what dignity she had left, but Tulsi leaned in, calm and resolute. "You can call me whatever names you want, Joy," she said, her voice steady and final. "But the next time you try to discredit someone, make sure you have the facts first, because not everyone will sit here and take it." The words landed like a knockout punch, freezing the room in silence. Joy opened her mouth as if to reply, then stopped, the defeat written across her face. Tulsi had won, and everyone knew it.
Because recently on your show here...
I was just going to get to that.
Good. Helping you out.
You want me to ask you the question?
Yeah,
No, look, some
the
of
question.
you
Let me ask you the
have
question.
accused me of being a traitor to my country, a Russian asset, a Trojan horse, or a
we haven't accused you of-
useful idiot, I think was the
Well,
term that you
useful.
used. Which basically means that I'm naive or lack
That's a
intelligence
Russian
to
term.
know what's going
They
on.
use that.
I want to let your viewers know exactly who I am.
All right.
Set the record straight. I am a patriot. I love our country. I am a strong and intelligent woman of color, and I have dedicated almost my entire adult life to protecting the safety, security, and the freedom of all Americans in this country. It was the attacks on 9/11.
By the time Tulsi walked off set, social media was already ablaze. Clips of her calling Joy out and demanding accountability spread like wildfire. Hashtags trending before the episode had even ended. Political commentators rushed to weigh in. Supporters praised Tulsi's fearless stance, while critics of The View hailed it as one of the most brutal takedowns in daytime television history. Joy, meanwhile, remained silent the rest of the day, carefully avoiding any response. But her silence only fueled the fire, sending the clip into overdrive. Tulsi embraced the moment, later posting a short statement thanking viewers for their support and reminding them that standing up for truth isn't always comfortable, but it's always worth it. Her words struck a chord, racking up thousands of shares and comments, and cementing her image as someone unafraid to face even the most hostile stages head on. In the end, Tulsi didn't just survive her appearance on The View, she dominated it, she controlled it, and she left a mark that neither Joy Behar nor the show itself could shake off anytime soon. This wasn't just another on-air spat. It became a national reminder that even on tightly managed platforms, truth can cut straight through. And when it does, it's unforgettable. For Joy, the sting of that moment would linger. A constant reminder every time she sat in that chair that one guest had stood up to her without fear, without apology, and without backing down.